and the Masters of the Universe. I am Adam, Prince of Eternia and defender of the secrets of Castle Grayskull. This is Cringer, my fearless friend. Fabulous secret powers were revealed to me the day I held aloft my magic sword and said, "By the power of Grayskull, Cringer became the mighty Battle Cat, and I became He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe. Only 3 others share this secret. Our friends, the Sorceress, Man-at-Arms, and Orko. Together, we defend Castle Grayskull from the evil forces of Skeletor.
Hello, this is TFG1Mike, and welcome to the 4th chapter in Tales of Eternia. With me, as always, for this journey into the Masters of the Universe franchise is OptimusSolo. Hello.
That's not what it says.
That's what mine says.
One and only OptimusSolo. Hello.
Are you ready to continue on with the powers of Grayskull?
Sure am.
Yeah, they need to... Rovio Entertainment needs to... now make a Masters of the Universe Angry Birds version, because Angry Birds Star Wars came out this past week. Oh my god, it's so awesome. I know we normally don't, talk about stuff in the intro, because we do that in all the other shows, but holy crap, I love that game. So awesome. Angry Birds with lightsabers. So awesome. In this episode of Tales of Eternia, we'll be giving you our thoughts on Episode 10, Reign of the Monster, Episode 11, Like Father, Like Daughter, and Episode 12, Disappearing Act. So we hope you're ready, because it's time to go back to Eternia.
This is Malcolm. With him, the POGS were invincible, so the elders used their magic to imprison him deep in the caves in which the POGS live.
Caves? I don't like the sound of that.
The Staff of Avion can free Malcolm, and Malcolm has the power to destroy Grayskull.
Then we'd better start moving.
There's something even worse.
Do we really have to know about it?
Once the staff is used for evil, it must be used quickly to undo that evil, or it will explode and take half of Eternia with it.
Couldn't we be on the other half?
First up today is Reign of the Monster. Take it away, Plotman.
Plotman. Reign of the Monster. Air date September 16th, 1983. This would have been the end of week 2 of air dates for He-Man back in the day. So this would have been your Friday episode of the second week of the series. And the writer for this episode is Mark Scott Zickrey. And the plot reads as follows. Celebrations of Avion are interrupted by a Torg attack, and Stratos, along with the staff of Avion, is captured. With Stratos in his possession, Skeletor gains use of the staff of Avion to free the evil Molcrum from its magical prison. Defeating the heroes, Skeletor and Molcrum race towards Castle Grayskull and begin their assault, fighting and overpowering the sorceress. As He-Man and his friends attempt to stop Skeletor, they must also retrieve the staff, which is ready to explode because of its use for evil, thus threatening to destroy half of Eternia. The masters we have in this one are He-Man, Sorceress, Stratos, Man-at-Arms, Teela, Ram-Man, and of course Battle Cat and Orko. And the only evil warrior is the evil warrior himself, Skeletor.
Yes, exactly. You also have Stratos' sister, whatever her name is.
Delora.
I forget off. Delora. Really? Seriously? Wow. That's,
I'm pretty sure it's Delora.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It is. But it's funny that I didn't notice that watching it, because I've been watching The Voice, and one of the contestants on there, who sadly did not move on.
Don't tell me stuff. Asshat.
One of the contestants on The Voice, her name is Devin Delora.
You're an
So,
asshat.
it's kind of funny. I didn't spoil it. Well, I kind of
Yes, you
did. But anyway.
Spoiler alert. That's what you're supposed to say first, and then I turn off my mic.
Sorry. So I have a plot dilemma with this. A staff that can take out half of Eternia if it explodes. Really?
It's that powerful. The magic is that powerful.
I guess so. I don't know. Um, Other than that, I liked it. I thought it was interesting. I like how in various episodes as we've moved on, we've met different races of Eternians.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you got the Torgs in this, and I mean, we kind of knew of Avion and knew of Stratos' people, but we didn't, like, this is the first time we actually really see them. So I like that about it. The overall plot, that villain was kind of dumb.
He's kind of crazy looking.
Kind of lame, too. Yeah, the design on it was great, but the overall it was lame. I don't know. What do you
He's just
think
your
of the plot?
standard fantasy creature bad guy.
Yeah.
I don't have many problems. I have a very small maybe nitpick with the plot, which we'll get into later. But overall, the plot, I don't have a problem with it. Avion's doing their set celebration. Skeletor, is going to capture Stratos and the staff, use it to unlock this beast, who is then going to help him take on Castle Grayskull. I mean, it's not like a fantastical plot, but it's good enough for me, and I don't have a lot of issues with plot holes or things that don't add up in it. So overall, I really enjoy this plot actually, and I love anytime we get to see the Avion race.
Yeah, it's
I just
very,
love
very
the design on Stratos and his people.
yeah, yeah, very, very awesome.
I do have a fun fact for us.
Okay.
This is the only episode in the entire series not to feature Prince Adam. It's He-Man from get-go. We never see a change. We never see the sequence where he turns into He-Man. We never see Prince Adam. He is He-Man from beginning to end.
Mm-hmm.
So that is kind of interesting.
It is, yes. So I think we're gonna head to Grayskull to see what good things we can find about this episode.
We have some unfinished business, Skeletor.
So we have entered the hallowed halls of Castle Grayskull. How many do you have? Did you find any good
I got
moments
about
with
7 or
this
8.
one? Okay, yeah, I got about the same. So, you mentioned the fun fact about this is the only episode of the entire series that does not feature Adam. My first note was, so we start with He-Man, very cool, and that note will come back in a later episode that we talk about today. Stratos has a hot sister.
Dolores is pretty hot.
Yes.
It's much hotter than Tila.
I love, and this will be in the web post for geekcastradio.com. I love the effect on Stratos and Skeletor being inside his eye. I thought that was just amazing. I actually switched that to be my Facebook page image.
Nice.
My profile image on Facebook. I love the battle between the heroes and Stratos and his other selves. I thought it was very cool. It was very well animated, and it doesn't, because I'm sure that all of the characters have stock footage on their movements, like how He-Man runs or Tila runs or Tila gets up, or I'm sure that they have all that stock footage of so all they did was just side by side them, and I liked that. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, I like that whole sequence.
And I do like how Skeletor tries using his own magic to open Grayskull. That was cool. He-Man bear hugs anyone?
He-Man was giving Skeletor some loving in this episode. You'll see that in the post.
Yeah. I think it was the very first episode of Tales of Eternia. In that episode post, there's an image of where it looks like they're almost going to kiss each other, and now they're hugging.
So you can see that at the website too. So go there and view the image we're talking about.
Yeah. What about you? What did you find good for this one?
I love that we got to see Avion and the people and where they were at and some of their traditions, etc. We got to see other male figures. We got to see Delora. We got to see even a young kid in all of their Avion-like features and get up. So I thought that was cool. Did you see when the people that were attacking Avion, they were shooting different things, and He-Man was on one of the Wind Raiders, Riders, whatever they're called. Someone can correct me on that. They shoot the back of it. It's the spot they blow up or hit with their gun is literally like 6 inches below He-Man's ass.
Yeah.
Like he almost got shot in the ass.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny. The sorceress mentioned, and I don't believe it's the first time she's done this, but when talking about Mulcrum.
Mm-hmm.
She gives us a little bit of history, and we get to see some of the past of Eternia, and she mentions the Elders. I liked the connection that we're making, that there was people before our current group that were powerful, and it was the Elders that captured Mulcrum into the diamond crystal structure in the first place. And just kind of that historical aspect that there was other people before that had power that made important decisions that dealt with some of these enemies in the past.
Right, yeah.
I just think it's cool to have that kind of element. I thought Orko was funny in a couple parts. When they're explaining that the staff can only be used for good, and if it's used for evil, it will blow up unless it's countered with good.
Mm-hmm.
And they talk about that if it doesn't happen, it's going to be a powerful enough explosion or whatever to blow up half of Eternia, which you were questioning before. And then Orko goes, well, couldn't we be on the other half?
I know.
That was hilarious. Like, screw the other half. Awesome. We'll just go the half that's not going to get destroyed.
People always rag on Orko. Every time I hear anyone talk about the series in general, overall, I think we might have even ragged on Orko back in Tooncast Classic episode 10 when we talked about the entire series for 2.5 to 4 hours. But watching it now and reviewing each individual episal, Orko's got some pretty damn good moments. I mean, he's not
so far, he hasn't done anything to piss me off.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, there are certain things, but there are certain cringeworthy moments for me with Orko sometimes. But other than that, it's like I don't want to brain him with something awfully hard that would break his skull like I do with some other 80s children's characters, T-Bitch and all that other crap. What else you got? Anything else?
Sorry, I am sidetracked by some breaking news in the voice acting world. One of the legends just died, apparently. Lucille Bliss.
Oh, wow.
So, sorry, I got sidetracked by that for a split second. She trained under Dawes Butler, and she's one of the old time. She was Smurfette.
Oh.
So.
May she rest in peace.
All right. There was also, I like the whole idea of the whole group being trapped. Mm-hmm. That it wasn't just one or two of them. It was basically the entire group was trapped inside that wall until He-Man broke them out. Yeah. So that was a cool thing for a second. I like at the end when the young Avian kid is fucking with Orko and shooting him with the remote control ship or whatever. That was funny. Yeah. I really like the exchange between, I'll call her Zor, because she was in bird form.
Yeah.
Exchange between Zor and Mulcrum.
Mm-hmm.
Sorcerer senses that she needs to go help. She goes out there and she starts to use her magic, and it's like almost like strobe light effect.
Yeah.
Where the light's just kind of flashing, and tell that she's using some very powerful magic, and it seems to be like causing all kinds of craziness. And then Mulcrum like freaking just bitch slaps her and makes her fall to the ground. But it was just a cool exchange between two very powerful beings.
Yeah, it was.
So there was a lot of cool moments in this episode that I really appreciated.
All right, I think we're going to go enter the mouth of the snake.
True, He-Man. And now is the time to finish it.
So the snake has swallowed us, and we are now inside Snake Mountain. Oh, that sounds so wrong. So a staff that makes fireworks convenient. This was at the celebration before the attack. And
oh, yeah.
And Stratos is like, here, watch what we can do. And it's like a staff that makes fireworks. Nice. That's... Ugh.
That's just one of the things it could do.
Yeah, exactly. Make fireworks and then later explode if it's not, changed back to good. I don't know if I'm going to put the image in the post or not, but there's a scene in here where during the attack, Man-at-Arms and Tila are in one of the battle things, one of the battle station, gun, turret, whatever you want to call them. And it ends up exploding / being on fire / whatever, the smoke effect it's got to be the worst smoke effect I've ever seen in animation. It's just horrible.
Pretty bad.
It looks like the smoke. You know how you get those DVD cases it'll be embossed and it's like something's popping out off the DVD case.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about? Okay. It looks like that to me, where the fire and everything else behind it looks like it's flat, and the smoke looks like it's gonna pop out at you. It was just horrible. It was just bad. I didn't like that at all.
Yeah, it's right up there with the creeping Horak.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so He-Man gets injured or he gets knocked down or something happens.
You're stealing
and hold on. Tila says, "Are you okay?" "Yeah, I just mussed my hair." "Really? Come on, He-Man, grow a pair. There's no way. That's another note actually. Grow a pair already. Okay, it's fine if you want. And I understand now why some internet reviewers seem to think that He-Man is gay. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but lines like this, moments like this, after he got knocked down by a gun blast or someone punching him or whatever, he gets up and says, "Oh, it's okay, I just mussed my hair."
And
It's
his
like,
hair looks terrible at that scene. Looks like a gay toupee.
yeah.
Yeah, I had the same thing written down, so I agree with you 100% on that one.
So much trouble for that comment.
What, me?
No, both. Me more than you,
Well, that's good.
but
I don't care then.
not that there's anything wrong with being gay, but it's just like it's just something that I did not expect He-Man to do or say.
That's for sure.
Okay, there is no way that the cave ceiling was high enough in order for He-Man to throw that monster, that very first monster, because they show at different camera angles how large the caves are, and I get the caves of Eternia in general go throughout the entire planet, but they always make them look like they're so small and people are just squeezing in there. There's no way in hell He-Man had enough room to throw that monster in real, if that was really happening.
I must have missed that, or I must have breezed over that part.
Yeah, it's right when they first get into the caves. Okay, I know it's classic villainy here, but why does Skeletor always assume that the sorceress's magic is no match for anything else, etc., etc., etc.? It's kind of annoying. I mean, we've already established that Castle Grayskull holds very, very many secrets and has very, very powerful magic, as does Skeletor. Skeletor has very, very powerful magic, but he constantly thinks that the sorceress is a weakling compared to him. And that just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And then the drawbridge, he finally starts getting, because he's weakened the sorceress at this point, he finally gets the drawbridge down. He's like, "At last, yeah, I can get into Grayskull." Hello, you were just in Grayskull a few episodes ago. What do you got?
He-Man's messed up hair, which we already talked about.
Yeah.
I will talk a little bit about the PSA we didn't mention in the last segment, but it comes from Orko, and it's all about don't eat things just because they look or smell good. The reason we find the PSA in Snake Mountain is because it has nothing to do with the episode. Really. I mean, I don't know what that had to do with anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's a good moral not to just go walking through the forest and grabbing fruit and eating it. Don't think it's a major threat to us in this century. But yeah, I guess that's a decent PSA for kids to know. My nitpick for this episode, it's really the only nitpick I can possibly come up with, and maybe it's just me not understanding it. But it has to do with the staff. The staff, if used for evil, is supposed to blow up, destroying half of Eternia. Am I getting this correct?
Yeah.
Unless it is used for good within a certain time period directly after it's used for evil.
Right.
Okay. So it was used for evil. Its time is ticking away, and it's going to blow everybody to smithereens.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, He-Man gets it. He goes to use it for good, but it gets knocked out of his hand.
Mm-hmm.
So it gets knocked out of his hand, flies away, whatever. He then eventually, after some tussling, and it looks like it's getting even closer to exploding, as Man-at-Arms points out, he gets back to it, grabs it, and chucks it at Mulcrum. Or chucks it not at Mulcrum, but chucks it in the air.
No, he doesn't chuck it at Mulcrum. He chucks it into space.
Chucks it into, but it doesn't even go into space. He chucks it into the air above where they're standing.
Right, but it shows it going into the upper atmosphere. It shows it going off planet.
I did not see it as that. I saw it as still being in the atmosphere right above them. Either way, I have multiple problems with this.
Okay.
He does not use it for good.
Yes.
Right? He went to use it for good, but he didn't get the chance. So now it's going to explode, so he just throws it so it doesn't explode near them. If it has the power to blow up half of Eternia, he did not chuck that motherfucker far enough. It should have blown somebody up.
Yes.
It was directly above them.
Yes.
Okay, number two, if he chucks it up there and it blows up like it said, then why does it then return fully intact to the planet?
Yeah, that's a little strange.
I don't know if the only explanation could be that somehow he used it for good as he chucked it, but he didn't get to use it for good. So it should have blown up, they should be blown up, and it should not be fully intact back where they can give it back to Stratos and his people. I just slightly did not follow how that all worked. I mean, it was weird enough that you have the staff that has to be used for evil and then good, otherwise it blows up. That's kind of complicated in and of itself. But the way it was executed, I would have rather them either used it for good at the last second or for it to gone so far and blow up and then we never see it again.
Yeah.
I still didn't see it going into outer space, but I'll take your word for it because that's the only reason why they're not dead.
Well,
But if it's going to blow up half a planet, how far into space do you have to throw that before it doesn't come back and hit you?
That's true.
I know it's a nitpick, but
it's not. It's not a nitpick. It's a valid point because she said it'll blow up half of Eternia.
So you'd have to throw that twice as far as you would think.
Yeah, it's really weird.
That's really the only bad thing about this episode that I could find.
Yeah. All right, let's head on over to the awards ceremony. Yay, awards!
Now, to begin the festival.
Let's hope there aren't any more interruptions.
He-Man, help!
So it is time to hand out either a power sword or a havoc staff to someone or something or whatever in this episode. What do you got for an awards? Did you have any? Did you pick any?
I did. I have a power sword going out to two individuals. They can share it, which is fine because they're brother and sister. And that is Stratos and Delora.
Cool.
It is mentioned that they are brother and sister in this episode, by the way. I forgot to mention that before, I think. But I just think they're cool. I think their people are cool. This is kind of the first time we've had a spotlight episode on them. I love them as a race of people. I thought she did a fantastic job in the episode, not only being hot, but not doing anything that annoyed me. Came through and, when they had to figure out which was the real Stratos. I just think both of those characters were phenomenal in this episode. So I give a power sword to both of them to hold together.
Yeah, I got to give a havoc staff to the writer, to Mark, what's his name, because that whole, now that you brought it up, the whole staff thing, it's just shitty writing.
Shitty writing at the end, just at the end.
They should have.
Which
right. Well, yeah. I mean that whole part of the episode, it was just poorly written, and havoc staff goes to him. Other than that, I like pretty much everything in this episode. Yeah, I've got some nitpicks about I just mussed my hair, and worst animated smoke ever. But other than that, not much. What do you got for ratings? What are you going to rank this one?
Honestly, I was real close to doing one thing until that last scene with the with the staff. I mean, there's so much going on. I love, like I said, Stratos and his people. I thought Mulcrum was a decent villain, especially with his showdown with the Sorceress. I thought that was cool. You know, two very powerful things going at each other. Skeletor getting into Grayskull again, you know, showing a weak Sorceress was cool. Seeing all of the Masters trapped together was cool. Orko was funny. He wasn't annoying in this. So there was so much that I liked about this episode. And I was going to give it a 5, but I can't with that whole staff snafu at the end. So I'm knocking it down to 4.5.
Yeah, I'm just going to give it a solid 4 Battle Cats out of 5 because, well, I liked it. That whole thing, as you said, it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, okay, I get it. It's an 80s cartoon. Even though I told you it is a valid point, most people might look at it as a nitpick, but if half the planet's going to be destroyed,
yeah,
you'd think that they would explain that a little bit better.
It literally, without that little thing, if they somehow rewrite the ending to where he actually is able to get it at the last second and use it in another way instead of just the classic, oh, we'll just chuck this, because we've seen that recur a couple times now in this series, where He-Man can't solve the problem, so he just chucks something into the atmosphere. Yeah. Or throws something far away so we don't have to deal with it. And to me, that's becoming the easy way out. And if they would have found a better way to write that, this probably would be one of my favorite episodes so far.
Yeah.
So it just irks me a little bit that they wrote it the way they did at the end.
It's kind of nuts. We are going to move on to the next episode.
I agree with you, Tila. The problem with the lasso must be in the electromagnetic radiation output. We have to adjust the wavelengths, make them shorter.
Like this, Father?
Yes, that's fine. Now, if we amplify the electronic circuits, creating a circular laser...
Should I adjust the control knob?
Yes, move it 2 stops to the right. Good, Tila. I think we almost have it. Just a little more work.
I thought I'd find you in here, Duncan.
He-Man!
Hello, Tila.
What is it?
It's Skeletor. He's using Beastman and Trapjaw in a plan to take over Eternia.
What is his plan?
He's raising some sort of army. That's what we have to find out and stop. Whatever it is.
Well, when Skeletor's on the move, there's no time to lose.
Then let's go!
No, Tila. I want you to finish working on the lasso.
But, Father, my place is with you and He-Man.
You'll be of much more help working on the lasso.
Yes, Father.
Up next is Like Father, Like Daughter. Take it away, Plotman.
All right, so we're into our 3rd week of He-Man back in 1983. This is Monday, September 19th. Like Father, Like Daughter, written by Janice Diamond. Spelled Janis, which I've never seen Janice spelled like that, which makes me think it might not be a female, but the name's Janice, so I would think it is a female. I don't know. Someone may be able to point out if this is a male or female, because I don't feel like researching it. But Janice Diamond wrote Like Father, Like Daughter. The plot: the sorceress summons He-Man to Castle Grayskull, revealing to the champion that Skeletor has amassed an incredible army that threatens Eternia. Journey into the region of Stardica. The heroes are immediately attacked by the evil warriors, and Man-at-Arms is taken prisoner. He-Man and Battle-Cat encounter the unstoppable army and appear overpowered. But at the Royal Palace, Tila makes a discovery that will dramatically affect the battle. We have Skeletor, Trapjaw, and Beastman, and we have our standard Man-at-Arms, Tila, Orko, Cringer, Adam / He-Man, and the Sorceress.
Yeah.
Fun fact, real quick, not really that fun, but the region of Stardica is going to be used 3 different times in this series. It's going to show up in the episode Castle of Heroes, The Ice Age Cometh, and Happy Birthday Roboto. All as different areas, but it's the same animation.
Again, going to the point of they had stock animation for this, this series, so... I did not really write anything down as far as the plot. I kind of liked it. I really did enjoy it. I thought it was great. And I thought it was great where it's a nice comparison to Tila's quest, because instead of her trying to find her biological mother, she's actually they're actually showing you the relationship she has with her adoptive father, and I really did enjoy that. I thought that was great.
I don't think there is a plot in this episode. We'll save my thoughts on the plot for later.
Oh boy, what about the PSA this time around?
Tila, and she is telling us to follow your parents' directions and listen to them because they probably know best. And unlike her, they might actually scold you or punish you if you ignore their directions.
Yeah, at least it had something to do with the episode.
And I like the fact that she acknowledges, even though I didn't get in trouble in this episode for doing it, and it worked out fine for me, it might not for you. It's like the PSA is telling the kids to do exactly what Tila did not do.
Whereas, okay, this is the first time we've done this episode, but I have to do it. Whereas the PSAs and masks sometimes make no absolute sense at all, this one makes sense, but it just, I don't know, it feels like the message is just being beaten over your head, I think. I don't know. Alright, so let's head into the hallowed halls of Castle Grayskull.
By the power of Grayskull, I command the drawbridge open!
So we have crossed the drawbridge into Grayskull, and I really like how this episode starts out and how it transitions to Man-at-Arms and Tila. I don't know, I kind of like that whole beginning scene. And I will write this note many times if this is true about the episode, but there was just so much action in this, I just didn't find anything really to analyze, whether it was good or bad. I do really love the bowling reference that He-Man makes in regards to Marlena being an Earthling. I thought that was great that they're reminding you that she is from Earth originally. I like that. I like that Skeletor had a backup plan, but what the hell was his real plan in the first place? What do you got? What kind of good moments did you find in Grayskull? Anything?
We have cricket sound effects we can insert here. I'm searching. All I'm finding is crickets in Castle Grayskull right now.
All right, so let's head on over to Snake Mountain, I guess.
These creatures are showing up faster than we can stop them.
So we have entered Skeletor's throne room at Snake Mountain. I only have 4, so I'm going to rattle mine off really quickly because I know Kevin has a lot of them. Quit being a whiny bitch, Tila. Why the hell is Orko going gaga over Tila? He has never okay, I can see him going gaga over Edwiner, but he has never to this point, like, he's had subtleties towards Tila to the point where, he's really subtle in the fact that he has a crush on her, but he has never gone, gaga eyes over her at all up to this point in the series. Never.
Yep, character is not important to the writer of this episode. They don't care what the characters were like before this episode.
Tila, please stop disobeying orders, goddammit. Please. You would think having a giant ass talon in your shoulder that you would be bleeding to death. This is when the bird thing, whatever, grabbed Man-at-Arms and flew off with him. And the pterodactyl, whatever the fuck it is, you would think that having a claw jammed into your shoulder as this bird is holding you and carrying you off, that you would be bleeding from the shoulder. That was a little, I know it's a nitpick, but it pissed me off because it's like, oh hey, I'm just gonna carry you now. Whatever. What do you got? What kind of all kinds of bad things did you find at Snake Mountain?
Well, we're going to start with the one nitpick, because a lot of times we go to the lowlights and, like, they're scattered with little nitpicks here and there. Mm-hmm. I only have one nitpick, and the rest are going to be legit awful things about this episode, so let me just get that right out there. The only nitpick is, and it's not significant just to this episode, it's happened in multiple episodes, we've just never mentioned it. But have you ever noticed how, especially He-Man, but other characters, have the ability to turn their head like 180 degrees to the side? Well, not 180 degrees. I guess it'd be a complete 90-degree angle.
You mean like the camera shots
No.
when they show half the face in the camera
No,
shot?
I mean when they show the character from the side and the person's head is like if you turn your head to the side, you can't quite get your chin to the back of your shoulder.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
These characters can do that. When they turn to the right or the left, it's a full 90-degree turn. I misspoke when I said 180 degrees. That would be really weird. But it's a full 90-degree turn of their head to where their head is now facing complete sideways. And necks don't work like that. That's a minor nitpick. I've seen it in other episodes, so that has nothing to do with the writing in this episode. I just want to point that out because we've never talked about it.
Okay.
All right. First of all, the timing in this episode is very awkward. The timing and the speech patterns are awkward, and it's evident right from the beginning with King Randor. Every time the king speaks in that opening sequence, it's awkward.
Yeah.
It's weird. There's weird pauses and delays. They'll say something and there'll be a delay, and then he'll be like, I agree. Like, even the voice acting of it, I don't know if it's the way it was written, the dialogue, the voice acting, but there's a lot of awkward timing issues in this episode. Hopefully, if you watch the episode, you can understand what I'm talking about. All right. The plot. As evident with the clip that we played earlier, even the freaking characters in this episode don't know what the plot is. Even He-Man is confused as to what the plot is. He even says the phrase, whatever it is, in that clip. He comes back to report and is like, first of all, the start of the clip is horrible because he says Skeletor and Trapjaw, or Beastman, whoever he is.
Beastman and Trapjaw.
Yeah, Skeletor and Trapjaw are plotting to attack us or to take over. Yes, that's what they're always plotting. There was nothing significant in what he just reported. And then he's like, we have to go figure out what they're doing, what their plan is, whatever it is. Like, what? The writer even wrote that in the script. Like, there is no plot in this. It's like somehow it's significant that Skeletor and Trapjaw and Beastman are going to try to attack and take over the palace / Castle Grayskull. That is their consistent plan. There's nothing different about this. Nothing like Sorceress calls He-Man there and is like, they're going to attack. Thank you, Queen Obvious. And then it's just weird. The whole manufacturing of these things that are going to, these robots that are going to attack them. I can get past that. Okay, let's go to another issue here. Teela is testing out the lasso on Orko.
Yeah.
All right, he's willing to do it. She lassos him. She's like, oh, it worked, blah, blah, blah. Try to break out of it. Yay, it worked, blah, 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 blah. Orko, can you let me out of here? Teela apparently didn't hear that. Goes about continuing talking, blah, 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 blah. Orko, can you please let me out? Teela, surprised now that she has forgotten that Orko is tied up right there.
And they're standing next to each. I mean, they're in the same damn camera
He's
shot.
right in front of her.
Yeah, exactly.
She's like, oh, Orko, I forgot you were there. What?
Yeah. It's kind of like me when I was like 6 or 7, when my cousin Heather would lock me in the closet. Same thing. It's like, let me out now, please.
It's wrong for 2 reasons. Number 1, he's right in front of you.
Yes.
You didn't forget that he was there. You're staring at him while you're talking.
Yeah.
Second, he has just reminded you a minute ago that he's still tied up and wants to be out. This is now the second time he said that. So either you're completely oblivious, blind and deaf, or I don't have another explanation as to why you're surprised. She should not have been surprised. All right. Let's transition. Maybe there's something better going on with He-Man and Man-at-Arms. Okay, so they show up at the whatever place they're at. And He-Man says, we should split up. Man-at-Arms walks 10 feet away. Apparently they are now split up, and Man-at-Arms gets attacked. Now, maybe you could justify that by saying he got attacked before they could fully get split up, but it seemed like they were both fully in the position they wanted to be in at this point. they had split up by moving 10 feet apart from each other. And that was just bad. Does He-Man keep other things in his chest armor? Because he just randomly pulled some shit out from behind his chest plate, which seems to be flat up against his chest. Now, number one, either He-Man is not as strong as we think he is, and he has stuff padding his muscles, or there is all kinds of possibilities that we weren't aware existed inside that little chest plate. It was a scanner that he pulled out, by the way. All right.
Maybe there's a pocket dimension back there.
The animation and the design on this episode is also terrible. He-Man looks like about 50 different people.
Yeah.
What? I'm cussing a lot. I apologize. But what the fuck? Beastman lassoed his own arms together. Like.
No. Okay. He hit the button and the lasso came out.
That was lame.
Yeah.
He intercepts it. I thought it was cool. That maybe should have been my highlight there. I thought it was cool when he was swooped down underneath and caught the lasso shooter thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then he just conveniently somehow shoots it so that it lassos his wrists and he drops the thing. I don't buy that. That was lame. And then one of my biggest gripes of this episode is the characterizations.
Yeah.
Since when is Teela an inventor? I know it's trying to show that she is somehow like her father.
Mm-hmm.
Daughter is the title. But no, they're not like each other. The way they're like each other is in the army sense of things.
Yeah.
That they're both like...
They're both military, yeah.
Military. They're both regimented. They both have, they believe in order and doing things in a certain way. She has never displayed an affinity to inventions, to building things, to gadgets, or any of that stuff. And now all of a sudden in this episode, we need to make her like Duncan. So now she's going to be an inventor?
Yeah.
I don't buy that. Who was the other? There was a couple other people that completely changed. Oh, Orko. He has never, ever said anything about Teela.
Yeah, like I said before, he's never gone gaga over her like he did with Ed Weiner last week. But there has been like little hints of him saying like not even snide remarks, but just like little comments here and there of, oh, I would do anything for you, Teela, blah, blah, blah. There's been little things, but he has never just straight up gone bug-eyed over Teela.
In this episode, the writer had paid no attention to how these characters were portrayed before, and the writer was just like, ooh, I want to make an episode where the daughter and the father have this like connection where they're bonded, so I'm just going to invent things about them that there before. And then I don't like that there's no consequences for Teela, again, disregarding orders and going on her own.
Yeah.
She saves the day, comes across as a hero, because she fixed the last machine, and that's how they win all this stuff. And then she uses the freeze ray to, stop Trapjaw and Beastman. And she shouldn't be the hero when she was the one that disobeyed the orders the whole episode. I just think everything was bad about this episode. I think the animation was bad, the design was bad, the dialogue and timing was bad, the plot was bad, the characterizations were bad. This episode was bad.
Let's head over to the awards and see if anyone gets brained with Havoc staffs.
You'll have to excuse me. Have fun with the lasso. I have an important appointment.
Important. I'll bet. Why can't Prince Adam show some interest in something other than fun? Fun! Fun!
I wish he would.
Let's give out some awards. You got any you're going to give out?
I got one big one. Havoc staff that I'm going to turn sideways and shove right up Janice Diamond's ass.
No, I did, since you did mention her name, I did look as far as this, like, I hate it when IMDb lists links to people, but they don't have any information on the person's, like, okay, I get it. There's going to be tons of information entries on, like, Kevin Conroy or an Alan Oppenheimer or, something like that. But writers, very rarely, unless they're super famous, don't have anything really listed as far as their bios. I did look her up on IMDb. She's currently, supposedly, still writing, because she's listed as writing episodes for the current season of Law & Order Special Victims Unit, Season 14. As far as the spelling of her name, the only other place I've ever seen that spelling of Janice is Janis Joplin. Is spelled that Janis is spelled that way.
Well, she's terrible, and I hope she never writes anything else in her life. I knew it was a woman that wrote this. No offense to women, but just with the Tila aspect of this episode and the whole father-daughter connection, I just had that inkling, and she wrote a terrible episode. It's the worst episode I've seen so far. Even worse than the one that we rammed.
It's worse than Colossus Awakes.
They're right. They're neck and neck. They're fighting.
Count Marceau ought to be happy about that. I get a brain Tila over the head with a Havoc staff, and I get a brain Orko over the head with a Havoc staff, because, as I've already stated, he's never gone gaga for her before, and she is constantly disobeying orders and having no consequences given to her.
Agreed.
So, I give this 2 Orkos out of 5. There are certain little small things I liked, but it's not enough for me to rank it any higher than that. What about you?
This deserves nothing.
No Battle Cats, huh?
0. I don't even acknowledge that this exists anymore.
All right, let's move on to the next episode.
It's done, Skeletor. I set up your activator near Mount Krona.
Krona is the biggest volcano in all of Eternia. When it erupts, it will destroy everything. The Federal Plains, the Royal Palace, everyone will be forced to flee. And when they do, we will make our move on Castle Grayskull.
He-Man smothered the volcano.
Too bad I don't have time for a steam bath.
Thanks, He-Man.
He-Man again.
He's too smart for us, Skeletor.
For you, Beast Man, but not for me. I have a plan to stop him for good.
But how?
With these 2 helmets, 2 very special helmets, I will walk into the Royal Palace and take Adam prisoner. And no one will even see me, for my helmet and I will be invisible. Once I have the prince, He-Man won't be far behind.
And finally up today, we perform a disappearing act where the podcast just ends now. No. Take it away, Plot Man. What's the... the writer for this one is... actually, it's co-writers again. Robbie London and David Chap, I assume.
Sure.
Add an L on there, it'd be Dave Chappelle.
It would be.
Or a couple of L's, but the air date was September 20th, 1983.
And the plot goes something like this. While trying to clean up his room, Orko accidentally makes the Sword of Power disappear moments before Skeletor walks in and captures Prince Adam. Skeletor believes holding the prince for ransom will cause He-Man to come to his rescue. But those who share the secret know better. While Adam desperately tries to summon help, Orko and Cringer must journey into Eternia's past, where they discover that the sword has a new owner. So the bad guys in this one are Skeletor and Beastman, and for the Masters we have He-Man, obviously, and Prince Adam, Man-at-Arms, Orko, Tila, Sorceress, and Stratos again.
Yeah.
I like and dislike the plot on this one.
Okay, why do you like it?
I like the idea that the setup is Skeletor capturing Prince Adam. Because then, as a viewer, you're like, wait a second, if Adam's captured and can't turn into He-Man, that's the usual way we solve all our problems, what's going to happen? Mm-hmm. And I like it because it puts kind of a juxtaposition between the people that know Prince Adam is He-Man and the people that don't know. Obviously, it's a foiled plot because he wants He-Man to come, get Prince Adam, which is impossible. It just lends to a lot of cool scenarios and possibilities. The only part I don't necessarily like is I understand, and I kind of like and dislike it. When the whole Orko making the sword disappear and it going into the past, I think it's cool that they mentioned the time corridor again.
Right.
And that this is kind of, I guess, a repetitive or ongoing thing. So it's not like they just made this up. But it just seemed weird that the sword went to the past and that they needed to go to the past to get it. But
see, I don't know. I thought it was unique in the fact that instead of, oh, Orko made the sword disappear and now it's destroyed, and what are we gonna do? There's no more He-Man. Oh my God, it's just Prince Adam and he can't fight for shit. Okay, so that's why I like it, that it just went back. Something happened to the sword instead of just disappearing forever and never ever being able to get it back.
I guess I just didn't understand why I needed to go in the past instead of just disappear to some.
Right, exactly. Whether it was because it needed to go in the past or because it, maybe it,
I think I would have preferred it.
Okay, I'm gonna reference that episode that I absolutely fucking hate because of that fucking dumb bitch. Maybe the sword, instead of going into the past, it could have disappeared to the hall of weaponry that Randor showed at Weiner.
Or just some random spot in Eternia that they had to like go treasure hunting and try to find.
Right, exactly. All in all, for me, the going back to the past is just I enjoyed it. I thought it was cool because we saw another part of pre-Eternia.
Right.
I can see why you don't like it because it's the same kind of gimmick that we kind of already had earlier with Skeletor going into the past and doing something. So
I don't mind it. I just didn't feel like it was necessary. I felt like it could have just disappeared to some remote spot in Eternia and that they had to find it. I like stuff that goes in the past and stuff like that. I just didn't know if it was necessary for this plot.
Right.
But overall, I like the plot.
Well, I have a plot dilemma here.
Uh-oh.
If Skeletor says, and he said this, everything will be destroyed because the volcanic eruption. Because of the volcanic eruption, wouldn't that also mean Grayskull and he wouldn't be able to take it over? He does say that everything on Eternia would be destroyed because this is the most powerful volcano in the universe.
Maybe he just meant everybody.
Well, he says everything. Yeah. He doesn't say everybody. He says everything. So that was something that I quite didn't like about this one. This is the episode that I was referring to a couple episodes ago. I know we've only had 4 episodes of this podcast, but this was the one that I was talking about where Adam was someplace and obviously couldn't be He-Man. Right. So He-Man wasn't. This was the one that I was thinking of.
Yeah, where it took He-Man a long time to show up.
Yeah.
And the PSA for this one was brought to us by Man at Arms, and it was all about the value of brains over brawn, which is a classic old cartoon moral.
It is, but again,
it's good to have in a He-Man cartoon because it's all about him being the most powerful thing and the person in the universe. And it's always just he beats people up or he is strong enough to throw something in outer space or break this or do that. So it's good to kind of remind people that it's all about brains over brawn in the long run.
Right, but the problem I have with the PSA is that it's not referring to He-Man. It's referring to Orko versus the Giant.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, that's really where it's coming into here. It's a good PSA, I'll give you that, but I'm noticing with these episodes that these PSAs are getting...
Some are good and some are bad.
Yeah. So let's journey to Grayskull. See if we can find some good moments out of this episode.
The same way we are going to get out.
Oh, no, you don't.
When you can move again, you can tell your people, if they want Prince Adam back, send He-Man to get him. We'll be in the Banshee Jungle.
So then my wand hit Adam's sword, and it just disappeared.
Why didn't you tell me right away?
I was afraid you'd be mad.
Orko, hiding a problem won't make it go away.
And that's some problem. What are we gonna do?
Maybe the sorceress can help.
I know what has happened. The answer is that your wand sent Adam's sword back in time. into Eternia's past.
Is there a way to get it?
Possibly. There is a time corridor, but there are unknown dangers in the past, and I cannot protect you from them.
Well, we have to try. We're not afraid.
Well, speak for yourself.
Very well. But Man-at-Arms must remain behind.
Why? I want to help too.
There are many ways to help. I have another task for you.
Well, Cringer, it looks like it's just you and me.
So we have entered the halls of Castle Grayskull. What do you got for good moments? Anything?
Yeah, well, I thought that was cool right at the beginning that they show Orko having to clean his room.
Yeah.
I thought that was both funny and relatable for kids, as far as seeing somebody in a cartoon having to clean the room and how they don't like to and blah, blah, blah. I thought that was just kind of a neat thing to put in there. I also liked Orko's bag of tricks. It actually said bag of tricks on it.
Yeah, it did. That was cool.
I thought that was funny. Like I said, I love the plot that He-Man has to rescue Adam and how they're going to pull that off. Man-at-Arms is quite the robot constructor.
Yeah.
Very lifelike looking.
And the skeleton underneath kind of resembles something we'll be getting to in a future podcast. Oops. Crappy New Adventure stuff. Oof.
All right. I love Skeletor in this episode when he gets all angry. He just cracks me up.
Yeah.
It's like he throws a little temper tantrum, and it's just funny. And then we also had Beastman making fun of Skeletor in this episode.
Yeah.
Again, that was funny. I thought Cringer was cool in this episode.
Yeah,
because we don't have Battle Cat, so we get a lot more development of Cringer. You know, usually, like we've mentioned multiple times, He-Man appears almost immediately in an episode, with a few exceptions, which means we don't usually get a ton of time seeing Prince Adam and Cringer, especially Cringer. Yeah. So it's kind of cool that this episode gave us some character development of that side of the Battle Cat Cringer combination.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to put this. I originally had this written down as something that we'd find in Snake Mountain, but that was just because at first I didn't understand it when it happened in the episode, and now I'm thinking maybe it belongs in Castle Grayskull. I don't know, but there's the point at the beginning when Orko makes the power sword disappear, and Teela is like laughing at it.
No, that's something you'd find in Snake Mountain.
I'm just saying, like, she's laughing at it, and at first I'm like, why is this bitch laughing? The most powerful sword and what makes him become He-Man just disappeared. But then obviously, you know, she doesn't know that. It's Prince Adam at the time. So then I thought, well, maybe that's kind of clever to show how much she doesn't know about that. It still was weird to see her laughing that the sword had disappeared, but that's just kind of I don't know how to feel about that moment, if it was good or bad.
We're how many episodes into the series now?
12.
In 12 episodes, the only people I can stand laughing that I like to see laugh is Skeletor and Evelyn. Everybody else's laughter is just so forced and just at the wrong time. Anybody, I don't care who it is. And I know we're at Castle Grayskull and we're supposed to be talking about positive stuff, but that just ties into your, you know, her laughing. I wanted to smack that bitch.
What do you got good?
This one started with He-Man, so you don't have transformation right away. So I'm kind of liking the whole thing of having a battle or just ending a battle, and then he has to revert to Adam and something else happens. I'm really liking that.
Yeah, that was
cool. I like Adam holding the power sword when Orko is in trouble from his old wand, but it's just weird seeing Adam use the sword outside of the transformation.
Yeah,
that scene again, made this. It's not natural. The only time you should ever see Adam holding the power sword is above his head while he's standing in front of a Grayskull. I just don't.
I don't mind it.
I mean, I like it. It's just weird. It's just weird looking to me because so far we know that Adam can fight, but he's not a fighter. He's a fisherman. You know, he doesn't catch anything. But you know what I mean? It's just one of those weird things. I don't know. I love how snarky the attack track is.
Oh yeah.
The attack track was awesome in this. I thought that was great. And I do like that Orko is taking responsibility. And this is when he was like, "Oh, I can fit through the bars," and "Well, I lost your sword, and I need to give it back to you." But so I did enjoy that. I really enjoyed that he's coming into his own as far as with great magical powers comes great responsibility.
You mentioned the attack track. I had never. This is not something I remember from my childhood that the vehicles actually would talk in this series.
I think it was only Attack Track that talked. I could be wrong.
I know that one of the the Wind Raiders or whatever is credited in an episode.
Wind Raider might have talked, but I know that the sky sleds is what the jet ski flying things are called. The sky sleds do not talk.
No, but I didn't realize the attack track talks, so I thought that was a cool moment.
Yeah. Punting into the next county. Kind of reminds me of Superman, Superman 3? Yeah, Superman 3 when he punts the football in the next county.
Nice.
And Beastman, you're all wet.
Bada boom.
Overall, it was an enjoyable episode. As I said in the plot, I liked the whole thing of having to, Skeletor having to capture one and not realize that the one is also the other one,
Yeah, I think this episode just does a lot, especially maybe for a kid watching it to, remind them of who knows and who doesn't know and really solidify that. So I thought that was cool.
Apparently you have your own battle cat over there.
Wanting to get in on the action.
All right.
More like a panther.
Yeah, Skeletor. All right, so we're going to head on over to Snake Mountain and see what kind of lava-filled, horrible things we can find there.
Well, it looks pleasant enough.
It's just a swamp hopper. Relax, will you?
Hey, do you mind? I get a little nervous when I travel more than 100 years away from home.
Don't worry, Cringer. I'll use my magic to defend us.
Your magic? I'm in even worse trouble than I thought.
So we are now in Skeletor's throne room. What do you have? Wow, that was a combination of Skeletor and Hunger the Harpy. Holy crap, where the hell did that come from?
I don't know.
I only have two, so what did you have?
I just have a couple here. I didn't find too many things to bitch about with this episode. Number one, usually we have Tila whining about, "Oh, I want to come along," or "You're leaving me behind. I want to help," blah, blah, blah. In this episode, we had Man-at-Arms whining. Well, he literally said, "Why? I want to help too."
Well, okay. There's a big difference between Tila whining and then doing what she's not supposed to do, and Man-at-Arms being curious as to why he has to stay. Yes, I will admit the vocal inflection was a little bit of a whine, but I don't. I mean, that's fine. You can have that as your Snake Mountain moment, but I didn't see that as something too terribly bad because he didn't know how else he would help until Sorceress told him whatever. And see, that's the other thing. They stop it right there, pretty much, and then switch to another scene. And she's like, "There's more than one way to help," but she doesn't tell him how. Or we don't see her tell him how. And then all of a sudden, he's building a He-Man robot.
That's true.
Kind of weird.
Another little one. Those two humans, Elmis and Abram, at the beginning, that are driving towards the volcano.
Yeah.
It was like weird. It was weird to me that all of a sudden there was like two Earth-like humans. They looked almost civilian-like. You know what I mean? It wasn't like they were part of some, like usually when we see humanoid characters in so far in He-Man, it has been, they've all been part of like some kingdom somewhere where they belong to this tribe, or they're all in some type of get-up where they belong to this clan or this group or whatever. Like, these are just, it looked like two farmers driving around the countryside to me. And it was just like, where did these two individuals come from? Are there just civilians out there that just aren't, part of any royal family or clan or anything, that are just like out living life?
I think so, and I think we're going to see that more as the series progresses. I know for a fact, once we get to She-Ra over there and when we explore the myths of Etheria, we will see that a lot more because, again, and I know you know this, watching Secret of the Sword, villagers and rebellion.
Yeah, it's just like, this is the first time I think we've seen it in He-Man so far, so I'm just
Right,
picturing this
exactly.
as a kid and being like, all of a sudden, where are these two random humans? And what are they doing? Last little one here, and then I have one kind of bigger one.
Okay.
When Orko and Cringer are in the past, they come across the giant who has the sword, and they have to get it, and they eventually get it, and then they're running, and the giant is chasing them, and the giant's chasing them. They're going to like the portal time corridor thing, and then it shows a clip like from behind what would be happening behind them. And all of a sudden, it's not just the giant chasing them. It's like
everybody,
12 different creatures on the screen chasing them. Where did they come from?
It ties into my second negative of this, so I'll go ahead and say that now. Why the hell is Cringer crying for help? It only attracted more negative attention to them. As they're running, he's like, help, 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 help. And as they're running, they keep running past all these creatures. And all these creatures join the giant in chasing them. And then it cuts to a scene to where Orko is like, Cringer, I told you to stop screaming for help. No one's going to hear you, and you're just Orko actually does something good and tells Cringer to shut the fuck up. Not in those many terms, but that's what happened. As they're running to the time corridor portal, he's screaming for help, and it's attracting all these monsters, is what happened.
Gotcha. I just didn't really... They should have showed them somewhere in the chase then, instead of just all of a sudden at the end, here's all these things. I was like, that's just weird to me.
Well, no, they did, but see, the thing is, the way it was shot was, like, Orko and Cringer would run past something like that first one, that kind of like Wolfman-looking thing. Looks like me on a bad no-haircut day. Anyway, the Wolfman thing, that they showed it, but they showed it as Orko and Cringer were running past it. So then you would just automatically assume that, oh, well, that's going to join in the chase.
All right.
It's kind of like this whole running camera gag thing, I guess. I
just didn't like it that much. My biggest problem with this episode was when we get to Prince Adam being trapped in the bars, in the cage or whatever.
Yeah.
And they finally have got the power sword, and they get up to him. They're standing a good, 40, 50 feet away from him.
Yep.
Apparently it was too hard to walk up and hand Adam the sword. They needed to throw it from their position. And then not only did they throw it, but they threw it so it didn't even land inside.
Yeah.
I know there was some, like if you watch the DVD sets and you look at the fun facts, like one of the things says that the sword was supposed to land at a different spot than it did, or there was some misanimation there, or this or that or the other. I don't care. That was stupid.
Yeah.
This is He-Man. Like, he needs his sword, or it's useless. We've gone back in time to get this sword. It's so important. Why would anyone chuck the sword at him? Why would that thought cross your mind of, hey, we got it, let's walk up to the thing and hand it to him, or set it right next to it? No, let's throw it from way back here, even though nobody is threatening us.
Yeah.
That was bad writing.
No, I agree. The thing with the power sword is much like the Matrix of Leadership. It's a huge MacGuffin throughout the entire series, to the point of you don't know how you're supposed to feel about He-Man having the sword, He-Man using the sword. I mean, hell, we saw He-Man throw the sword to Teela and she used it. We saw him throw it like a boomerang to, in a previous episode, I forget which one it was, but he threw it to hit enemies. So we've seen him use it like that. So I see why in this instance you're kind of mad about it, because it makes no damn what makes no damn sense about that scene is they throw it, it lands just outside of his reach, and then Orko, even though that was my good moment, Orko coming up and saying, "No, I need." Well, yeah, you're right. They could have thrown it an additional 25 feet. I mean,
or just walked up and handed it to him.
Yeah.
What was threatening them to prevent that?
The bars.
No, he could have gotten close enough to the bars.
I know. I understand and I agree with you, but
Orko could have done what he did originally right from the beginning.
Right. I'm in complete agreement.
That just bothered me.
I know, and what I'm saying is, Adam said, "Don't come close because the bars will get you. The bars are going to reach out and strangle you." You know what I mean? He made it sound like it was more dangerous than it actually is. And I'm not saying that laser bars aren't dangerous. They absolutely fucking are. But the way that it was conveyed through the writing of the episode was that, if you come, within 5 feet of this thing, it's going to shock the shit out of you.
Didn't do that to Orko, so he could have done what he did right from the beginning.
Yep. No, I agree. My other one was back when we're in Preternia or Eternia's Past, whatever the hell they're calling it, because I don't think they've called it Preternia at all at this point. The animation on the power sword when the giant has it is just awful. The power sword looks so dinky. Okay, I get that it's a giant, and to him it's a teeny tiny sword. It's a toothpick. It's whatever. But if you go back and look at it, the animation on it, I may have to grab it for the post. The animation on it is just so fucking bad. Even if it was in a giant's hand, you should still be able to see the definition curve of the hilt and the bottom part of the blade right above the hilt. You should be able to see that. No, it just looks like a dinky toothpick, and I couldn't stand that.
Yeah, I didn't notice it as much, but I can understand that.
Yeah. So it is awards time. Yay!
No!
You won't be needing this.
My Havoc staff will take care of you.
So it is awards time, and usually in this segment is where we hand out power swords, Havoc staffs, all that good stuff. If we found anything, that deems it. Do you have any awards?
I do. I have a power staff to give out.
Power staff?
Yeah.
What's a power staff?
Or a power sword, excuse me. A Havoc sword. A power sword. That's what I have to hand out. That's the good thing. I know you didn't necessarily like him in a few parts, but I really thought he stood out as kind of a main cool character in this episode, and that would be Cringer. I liked seeing him say which part of the transformation he liked and which part he didn't like.
Yeah.
I liked him getting the courage to grab the sword. I just liked seeing him as much as we got to see him in this episode, and I thought he did a good job and came through strong. I know he was running like a little bitch to get back to the time portal, but that's part of his character, so I'll forgive him for that. Right. I just liked Cringer in this episode a lot.
It's not that I dislike Cringer at all. I love Cringer. He's awesome. The only thing I disliked about him was he wouldn't shut the fuck up because he was attracting attention to them. That was the only thing, was that one bit. And I know Cringer is supposed to be a whiner and everything else, but that was everything else was great. I mean, it was nice having a pretty much wholly Cringer episode. Let me see here. I'm going to smack Tila again with a Havoc staff because the laughter thing that you pointed out, I didn't care for that at all. And I understand that's the whole point of, she doesn't know, etc., etc., etc. And she's really starting to rub me the wrong way in this series. She's getting on my last damn nerve. I am going to give a power sword to Orko, though, because I do like that he, is taking responsibility for his actions, and I thought that was just absolutely amazing for him to be doing. Because as I said last week, we're not just... Orko gets a bad rap in the fandom because people just assume he's this cliched 80s, bad comedy character that everyone hated. And he's not. He's a very well-written, well-rounded character, I think. And sure, he's got his bad moments when he makes mistakes and everything else, just like everybody else in the show does. But I really did like him in this episode, so I'm going to give Orko a Power Sword.
Excellent.
Yes. What are you going to give this one? How many Battle Cats?
I really like this episode. I like the whole idea that Skeletor, took Prince Adam, and that they have to come up with a way for He-Man to get him back, even though they know Prince Adam is He-Man. So I like that. I like that they didn't have the sword, that they had to come up with some type of way to do something at first without the sword, etc. So I liked all that. It wasn't a perfect episode. It had its little flaws, so I'm going to go with 4 Battle Cats out of 5.
I'm going to agree. It would have been a 5 out of 5 if Cringer would have shut the fuck up. But no, it's the same thing for me. It was overall for the most part, it was a well-written episode. The plot was executed well. And I like the whole thing of, you need Adam and the Power Sword to get He-Man, etc., etc., etc. So I'll give it a 4 out of 5 as well.
Excellent.
Awesome. So we're going to go to a quick commercial break where you're going to hear some ads and some other He-Man audio and everything else. I would like to know from the fans, I don't know how many people are paying attention to it, but I saved the PSAs and I used them for ad breaks. So right after I finish talking now, you're going to hear the first PSA from the first episode we talked about today. And then you'll hear an ad from whatever cartoon show that we also have over here at GCR. So I split them up where I'll have the PSA, 2 podcast ads, the PSA, 2 podcast ads, etc., etc., etc. I want to get some fan feedback on that and let us know what you think of that, or if you want me to do it slightly differently. But I'm liking how I'm formatting that as far as the ad breaks go, because it gets all the messages in there. Something I didn't think to do with them unmask. Oh well, I don't care. Whatever. We'll be back after this.
Boy, the fruit on that tree looks good enough to eat, doesn't it? That's like a lot of things you might find around your house or in your neighborhood. But looks can fool you. Sometimes things that look or smell good can make you very sick. Remember, never taste or eat anything if you're not sure what it is. The best thing to do is to ask a grown-up who knows. Remember, it's better to be safe than sorry. Till next time.
Soundwave, jam that transmission! Rumble Frenzy, Ravage Rat-Bat, Eject, Operation Interference.
No, there will be no Operation Interference. I am TFG1Mike, and you should be listening to my very first podcast, the TFG1 Podcast. 24 episodes covering the entire U.S. run of the 1984 Transformers cartoon. I also have a few supplemental episodes and an interview with Stan Bush. I bring in guest hosts who will be full-time co-hosts in Steve Megatron and fan of the show now co-host Pecan Court Michael. So check out the TFG1 Podcast. You can find it on iTunes and the web at www.geekcastradio.com. Transform and roll out.
Is this thing on? Oh, goody. Why, hello there. It's your dear Uncle Joker here. I bet you're asking yourself, what could I be possibly doing here of all places? Well, I'm laughing at the fact that this new podcast presented by Geekcast Radio is called Legends of the Dark Knight. Who the heck knew the Bat was so popular? Ugh. Join Steve, Mike, and sometimes Tara for reviews on the greatest DC animated universe cartoon to ever meet Gotham City. So join moi for the talk of the town, or I'll send Captain Clown after you. He gets mighty angry when he doesn't get to have his garbage skull. So put on a nice big smile and join us for the next Geekcast Radio Network podcast, Legends of the Dark Knight.
In today's story, I asked my father for permission to do something I wanted to do. When he didn't give it to me, I did it anyway. I was lucky. Nothing happened to me. But it could have. Now, maybe mothers and fathers aren't always right, but if they don't always let us do something we want to do, there's generally a pretty good reason. All in all, I think it's pretty nice to have someone who's always trying to do what's best for us and who loves us enough to say no when it would be much easier to say yes.
Welcome to my throne room, Future Tales. The Beast Unleashed podcast is over, not gone. You can hear more of this great podcast, discussing all the episodes of Beast Wars and Beast Machines on GeekCastRadio.com. We include voice actor and writer interviews with stellar hosting by Steve, Mike, and Michael. Head on over to iTunes or the net, or else I will send you my vehicles to extract your spark and destroy you. Yes.
Like animation? Come listen to Animation Aficionados.
And if you disagree with us, you could be a guest on a future show.
Available on iTunes, the Zune Market, and animationaficionados.com.
Being the most powerful man in the universe isn't all that makes He-Man such a great hero. Being strong is fine, but there's something even better. In today's story, He-Man used something even more powerful than his muscles to beat Skeletor. You know what it was? If you said his brain, you were right. And just like a muscle, your brain is something you can develop to give yourself great power.
So we are back at the Palace of Eternia. I created something new. And we're going to talk about our overall thoughts on the series so far. What do you got?
Well, I mean, I'm kind of feeling the same as I was last time we did this. There hasn't been a whole lot that has changed in these 3 episodes. I did appreciate that we got a closer look at Cringer in the Disappearing Act, that we got a real close look at Stratos and his people in Reign of the Monster. So we got a few more looks at some of the masters and some of the good characters and kind of got a little in-depth stuff. You know, it has solidified a few things as far as who knows and who doesn't know the secret, so we're really clear on that. You know, we've got to look at the sorceress battling a very powerful creature, kind of see her power. You know, so we did get little bits and pieces, but as far as an overall arc, I'm still looking to see more of where some of the evil warriors came from. You know, maybe their people, their background, something to do with that. Still looking, as always, and I'll be doing this no matter what. They could do this every episode, and I'd still want more. I still want to know more about He-Man and Skeletor. I want to know more about what makes them tick, where they... we know where He-Man comes from, but where does his power come from? Where did he get the sword? Why was he chosen? Where does Skeletor come from? What's his background? I know a little bit because I have seen, obviously, stuff, but, you know, just viewing it as...
You want to see it in this series. You want to see them tackle that here.
I want to see that, you know, so far, and I'm not, you know, I don't need to know if they do or if they don't or this or that. I just, you know, that's what I would want as a kid, to be seeing more of those 2 characters. But I'm not unhappy with where we're at up to this point.
Yeah. I'm not unhappy either where we are up to, 12 episodes into the series. I really, overall, I mean, even though I rated the episodes whatever it was that I rated them, but it was one of those things where these 3 episodes compared to like last week or the week before, they each started out very differently than what your normal stock He-Man episode is. Because normally it's like, you would either start at Skeletor with Snake Mountain with him planning something, or you would start with Man-at-Arms and He-Man, or Man-at-Arms and Adam having a picnic, or you would start or you start in the palace and then something happens, or they have to go somewhere and then something happens. I like the fact that 2 of the episodes today, you immediately start with He-Man.
And one of them you didn't see Adam at all. To me, this series so far... This is not, this is just, as viewing it now, I don't remember how I felt when I was a kid, but it's not feeling like the same episode every time.
No, not
which
at all.
some other series do that, and do feel like you're watching the same thing over and over and over again. And they've done enough to spice it up and to switch it up a little bit.
Yeah.
I will say, obviously, I thought we had two very strong episodes this time. Disappearing Act and Reign of the Monster, I thought were real good episodes. And Like Father, Like Daughter, we'll try to ignore that one existed. I do hope, though, that we get a little more consistency from the writers as far as characterizations. Hopefully, Like Father, Like Daughter is an aberration or the exception where they just ignore everything we know about a character and reinvent them. So hopefully we can get some consistency going forward of this is who this character is, this is how they act, and they're not going to be drastically different just for an episode or two.
Right, exactly. All right. Thank you for listening to Tales of Eternia. If you'd like to get in contact with us or leave feedback for the show, there are several ways to do so. Visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can comment on all of our different posts.
I would like people to go and comment. I'm interested in a couple of things. Because I know a lot of people have said that they watch the episodes and listen to the podcast. I'm curious how they do that. Do they, listen or watch all 3 episodes and then listen to the entire podcast? Do they listen to the podcast first and then watch the 3 episodes? Or do they split it up and watch an episode, listen to the podcast part, watch an episode, listen to the second part? How are you, people that are listening, how are you doing it? Like, how are you both viewing the episodes and listening? What order do you do it? How do you do it? I'm interested to see how people do that.
If they don't comment on the website with this feedback that you're wanting, they can also email it into feedback@geekcastradio.com. That way we could actually read emails on the air and we could actually have a discussion on people,
Just their
most
habits.
Right.
Do they listen to this in the car? Do they listen to this at home? I'm just curious.
Right. Yeah. No, yeah, I agree. You can leave the show's feedback in iTunes. We have our second iTunes review in 4 episodes. Holy crap.
We're doing good. That means before episode 6, somebody else has to do an iTunes review.
I'm looking at you, Count Marzo, you jerk.
Don't call him a jerk and then expect him to do anything for us.
He's a Matty apologist. He's all right. So the secondary iTunes review that we've gotten is a great He-Man cartoon review show, 5 stars, by Cass2323, left on November 13th, 2012. If you thought everyone was jaded and couldn't enjoy the original He-Man cartoon, you'd be wrong. TFG1Mike brings his usual hold nothing back passion and entertaining self, and OptimusSolo is a great counterpart to TFG1Mike. These guys don't always agree, which is a good thing in my book, but both are big He-Man fans, and if you're looking for nostalgia, look at the old cartoon, or if you're looking for a nostalgic look at the old cartoon, your look is over. Look forward to a new show every week. So thank you, Cass. Very, very awesome of you to leave us that review. You can follow us on Twitter. The show name there is Pow of Gray. I think it's Pow at Grayskull. I don't know. Just follow at Geekcast Radio. I forget what the Twitter name was that I came up with for this show. Yeah. It was too long, so I think it's Pow of Grayskull. But follow at Geekcast Radio. Mine is TFG1Mike. What is your Twitter?
OptimusSolo.
Become a fan on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/GeekCastRadioNetwork. Call the voicemail line. Tell us the show you're leaving the message for and your name. 502-526-5821. We hope you enjoyed the tales today, and don't forget to join us in our next adventure when we will be discussing episodes 13, 14, and 15. Those being Evelyn's Plot, Dawn of the Dragon. Dragoon, jeez. And Prince Adam No More. For now, I am TFG1Mike with...
the one and only OptimusSolo.
By the powers of Grayskull, you all have the power.